for your 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to say I agree with the questions and the answers just given by Ms. Matsui, and then the answers that were given. Both Ms. Bivens Domingo and Ms. Sweeney have mentioned that a lot of folks in their areas and in my area as well use telephonic forms of telehealth, and we have to figure out how to make reimbursement for both the computer version and continue to reimburse or do better ways of reimbursing for telephonic. All right, let me move on to Mr. Shannon. Mr. Shannon, EcoHealth Alliance, an NIH grantee during the time that you were there, at least it started then, recently acknowledged that it is waiting for its sub-grantee, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, to release electronic files and lab notebooks associated with a key experiment on coronavirus and doing coronavirus research prior to 2020, which was supported by the NIH grant. Seems weird and perverse to me that an NIH grantee cannot or will not produce the substantiating materials from an experiment paid for by the United States. Wouldn't you agree? Yes or no?
Yes, I would agree.
Shouldn't NIH grantees be required to retain a copy of all research records? And when I say grantees, I mean grantees and sub-grantees. Shouldn't they be required to retain a copy of all research records, electronic files, and laboratory notebooks generated by a foreign sub-grantee and be required to make such data available upon request to the NIH and or from Congress? Yes or no?
Yes, and the requirement exists.
Then how come we can't get these records from the Wuhan lab?
I don't know the answer to that, sir. I can tell you that the NIH grants policy statement, section 8.4.2, specifically requires that any record reasonably considered to be pertinent to the grant must be retained and available. And in fact, the grantee and or the awarding recipient and is responsible for compliance across the board. They actually have to keep their people available.
Let me move on. We've had a number of issues with this type of thing with EcoHealth Alliance, and at one point they were banned from getting new money on that grant, but then the NIH gave them a grant for something else. When we have somebody who is not complying or not making their sub-grantees comply, shouldn't we ban them from getting new grants in the future?
Well, I think there's absolutely a case to be made that stewardship should be
take that as a yes. I apologize. I'd love to talk to you for hours, but I only have 5 minutes. Also, as a former director at the NIH and NIH advisor to the FBI, how big of a problem is non-disclosure of foreign interests? Under current requirements, should it have been disclosed when EcoHealth Alliance received their NIH grant that they had a partnership with the Wuhan Institute of Virology?
Generally, all disclosures of support or activity and location of performance are supposed to be disclosed. That's a requirement of the grant in the grant policy.
You were there at that time, and I know you may not remember, but do you know if that was disclosed at the time of the grant on coronavirus to EcoHealth Alliance?
I do not. Those grant compliance areas fall under the auspices.
Yeah, I heard your answer to Dr. Burgess, and I thought that was fine. Again, I hate to cut you off, but I got to move on. What is the China military civil fusion strategy, and how is it relevant to the threats facing biomedical research by the U.S. In China?
The MCF, or military civil fusion strategy, is a major driver of the Chinese Communist Party in their efforts to create a technologically advanced military to promote economic benefit beyond and replace the U.S. as a premier economic powerhouse. So the focus is on targeting critical infrastructure, including biomedical, and there's a purposeful attempt to do that, to gather information that way. And the focus is also recognizing that the way we look at the right and wrong of it is probably not the way they do. They don't see it as their job to
let me finish up.
For us to protect.
Hang on. Let me finish up, and I do apologize. I could talk to you for hours, but do you think, looking at Wuhan Institute of Virology, that they are in fact a part of this strategy? I do. Do you?
I don't have any knowledge to demonstrate that's the case, but I
But
know
you
as
would,
you,
yes or no, you would be surprised if they were not a part of it, wouldn't you?
I would be surprised if they were not part of both the military and party.
The gentleman's time is
involvement.
My time's
expired.
up. Thank you.
Yes.
Gentleman's time
Appreciate
is
it.
expired. The chair is pleased to recognize the gentleman from California.